Pokémon Premier League Week 1, and already, Shroomraver was going to have to go up against someone I had no information on. Iron Boffin. I didn't want to have to make the call that I knew I had to make this early on. But if I wanted information, there was only one person who might be able to get it to me. I just had to hope he was willing to play ball.
Well, Detective Inspector Stryker. Now, I figured you'd call, but I didn't expect it to be so soon. Congratulations on your promotion.
You're as well informed as I'd heard, Chase.
Well, you know how it is in this city. News travels fast when you're on top of things. So, what can I do for you, Mr. Stryker?
If you're as knowledgeable as the rumors say, you already know what I'm after. Your watch parties, as you call them, giving you a whole lot of insight into people. You want to help the right side out here?
Ah, yes. Information truly is power, isn't it? Well, in that case, you should know that I don't do that anymore. I'm a changed man, Detective Inspector. No more watching other people for me. I'm just a guy here for good times.
Yeah, right. You'll forgive me if I take that with a pinch of salt.
So little trust. Come on now, Mr. Stryker. You'll need to do better than that if you want to know what Mr. Boffin is up to this week.
Ah, so you do know what I'm after.
Oh my. Did I say that out loud? Well, it doesn't matter. I hear he's got tech that'll knock your Mr. Shroom's socks off. Of course, I can't know for sure, but who can say if I was there when he thought it all up? Not my battle, after all.
So that's it then? Alright, you listen to me. I know you made some kind of deal with Addison last season. You trying to get in with some new talent this time around, huh?
Look, Max. May I call you Max? Here's the thing. Whether or not it would have benefited me to pass a little favor Edison's way last season, it doesn't matter. Not to you, and definitely not to Shroom. And from what I've heard, you've got a whole lot of people to keep your eye on this time around. Can you really afford to waste time on this little side quest?
I need to know what everyone is doing here, Chase. You got a history of watching everyone. So you can do the right thing here and help me out, or you can go about your business. Don't expect any considerations from the DLPD in the future if you do.
Well, as wonderful as your considerations would be, Detective Inspector, I think I'll have to pass on that. But hey, information begets information, doesn't it? Maybe you have something for me in the future. Maybe you go ahead and give me a call. But till then, don't forget, I've given up on the watching. Perhaps you should too. You know, for your own sake.
Is that a threat, Chase?
Threaten an officer of the law? I would never. Just some friendly advice, really. Oh, and, Mr. Stryker?
Yeah?
I'm sure Onesie will answer eventually. Probably just busy, you know?
Wait, how do you... Hello? Hello? God damn it. Hello everyone, Shroomraver here, and welcome to Pokémon Premier League Season 3, Week 1. Yes indeed, Parasect Germain are back for another crack at it with a stacked roster. Strange things happening in Draft League City at the moment, and Detective Stryker himself has asked us to help get to the bottom of things. Not going to be easy. And we're starting off with someone we don't know particularly well. We are going up against Iron Boffin and the Rochester Rhydons. His links down in the description below. Make sure you check them out along with all the other wonderful coaches who are in there. There's 20 of us in total. Most of them you all know. Some of them you might not be as familiar with, but make sure you check every single one of them out. They're all fantastic people. Iron Boffin is someone, as I say, I don't know particularly well, but we need to know what his deal is. The team he can select from is Roaring Moon, Goldengo, Azumarill, Torkoal, Vaporeon, Cresselia, Venusaur, Rhydon, Galvantula, Ambipom, and Tropius. His 2 Terra Captains that he's got, Venusaur, which can go Fairy or Fire, Galvantula can go Electric, Ice, or Ghost. So a lot of threats going on here. We have a Sun team with Torkoal supporting Roaring Moon, Venusaur, even maybe the Tropius. He's got a lot of bulky pieces going on there with the Cresselia, Vaporeon, Rhydon, Venusaur maybe. And just some of the premier threats with the likes of Goldengo and Azumarill. We can't sleep on that Ambipom either. Webs are there as well. They could also be a big problem for us. So, what have we decided to bring? Week 1, we're starting off with Greninja. Yes, Greninja here with the heavy duty boots. We've got max special attack, 232 speed with a timid nature, 24 into the HP there with Hydro Pump, Ice Beam, Sludge Wave, and Dark Pulse. This is my late game sweeper. It is the Battle Bond set, so that's kind of what we're working with here. Heavy duty boots to get around those webs, which I am anticipating he is going to want to lead get up as soon as possible, but we'll deal with them in various ways. Greninja, I don't know much about Iron Boffin's building. I don't know how aggressively he's going to try and speed creep me with that Roaring Moon, so I'm taking no chances week 1, and Greninja is just fixed to outpace a max speed version of that. It's not going to be taking too many hits anyway, so I'm not particularly bothered about investing into the bulk there. But I've got various breakers on the team to try and, say, break down those bulkier things and put things in range of Greninja to do work late game. Second member of the team is going to be Ogerpon Cornerstone. Coming in here, of course, with that Cornerstone mask. We have a jolly set here, max attack 244 into speed, which is going to be allowing me to outpace that Galvantula, I believe it is. We have Ivy Cudgel, Trailblaze knockoff, and SD. At +2, Jimmy the Face Ogerpon here can Oko or Tuko much of the squad, but I could say that about anything that Ogerpon goes up against. Why am I leading with this when I am anticipating webs and I have Prankster Taunt on my squad? Well, the idea with Ogerpon here is to just leave it in, guarantee the KO against Galvantula, and stay in until I die. This thing can do a lot of damage to any one thing he wants to bring in. After I've taken care of the Galvantula, I should still be at full health. I should still have my Sturdy intact, which would be really nice. But why am I not trying to go for Taunt to prevent those webs? Well, there is always the chance, seeing that I have Prankster Taunt on Grimmsnarl, that he will not want to lead with a Sash web set and instead will want to lead with a Mental Herb webs set. Honestly, I'm predicting the Sash, but leading Ogerpon against a Sash web set is going to be better for me than leading with Taunt against a Mental Herb web set, because it means that Ogerpon can still do a decent amount of work. And it won't have to worry about the webs because it'll already be in and it won't have that speed drop. So that's the thinking there. Next up, we have Big Tony Valia debuting Grimmsnarl here with a Babiri Berry. We have 204 attack, max special defense with that Calm nature, I want to say it is. Special defense up, special attack down. 52 going into speed just to make sure I'm creeping the likes of that Vaporeon, maybe the Azumarill as well. We have Spirit Break, Passing Shot, Fake Out, and Throat Chop going on there. Passing Shot, very useful on this kind of guy, just to make sure I can get on out of there against basically anything that isn't the Roaring Moon or the Goldengo. But Berry is going to allow me in a pinch to take an Iron Head from the Roaring Moon, maybe even a Make It Rain from that Goldengo, and get some big damage off on both of them in my dual stabs. Fake Out is pretty much there to try and help me stall out Sun if I need to, and maybe pick off something that's very weakened in a late game sort of situation. So that's Grimmsnarl. Fourth member of the team is going to be Haxorus, my second heavy duty bootsmon, to make sure I'm not hindered too much by those webs. We have Swords Dance, First Impression, Earthquake, and Crunch. We are not running Stab on this guy. We don't particularly need to. It's a breaker, you know, I'm going to bring this thing in, set up a Swords Dance. That's going to allow me to try and break through the bulkier things on Boffin's team, like Goldengo, Azu, Torkoal, Vaporeon, Cresselia, Rhydon. This thing can just put the hurt on a lot of his guys. First Impression is pretty much there. to make sure that that Roaring Moon doesn't get out of control. It is a fallback plan in case that Roaring Moon is like booster energy speed, which has, you know, done me dirty before in Season 2. Earthquake and Crunch. Earthquake is very, very spammable into his team. He has 2 immunities, those being the Tropius and the Cresselia. Crunch at +2 will do a lot to Cresselia. Tropius I don't really see coming. His other grass type has the poison typing, which means Earthquake is still neutral against it. I really want Haxorus to just break things down for my Greninja to try and sweep late game. Next up, we have, scrolling down on my list, it's Orthworm. It's Citrus Berry Orthworm. We're going Shed Tail early here. 252 HP, 44 defense, Impish Nature, 196 special defense, and 16 into speed. Again, that's just allowing me to outpace some of those slower pieces like the Vaporeon, the Azumarill. Along with Shed Tail, we've got Body Press, Earthquake, and Spikes. If I can get a spike up here and there, that would be lovely. His removal is pretty much, I think, limited to that Torkoal, which he doesn't want to be bringing in too often because he's going to want to save that to get the sun up where he can. Body Press is just very nice on this. It's mostly specially defensive. This is going to allow it to take multiple hits from the likes of that Goldengo, while still maintaining a very creditable physical defense stat for the likes of the Roaring Moon, the Rhydon. It will wall out quite nicely, the Ambipom, and indeed the Azu. So that's that, and final member of the team is going to be my second Citrus Berry user. That is going to be Wheels Malone, Terra Fairy Rotom. If we don't pop the Terra on Ogerpon to do some damage in the early game, this could come in really handy late on. 88 HP, 132 in defense with the Bold Nature is allowing us to take any 2 hits, I believe it is, from the Azumarill, as long as it's not like Belly Drum. This will also do quite nicely, especially once terrored against the likes of the Rhydon, the Ambipom too. 100 into special attack, 144 special defense is going to allow us pre-Terra to take any 2 hits from that Goldengo, which is a big old threat. It'll also take on the Galvantula nicely if needs be. I don't think we'll need it for that. 44 into speed, just to be creeping some non-invested offensive things like that Goldengo. Thunderbolt, Nasty Plot, Air Slash, and Willow. If things do start going wrong against, for example, maybe like a surprise Scarf lead Galvantula to counteract my Ogerpon, I can bring this guy in, set up a Nasty Plot, and try and break some things. So that is the team I'm going to be bringing. Let's get right on into the battle and see how things play out. So here is the matchup. Unfortunately, I forgot to click record in time. I only got in my recording for the Pokemon hitting the field. But Boffin was kind enough to send over this screen cap of the Pokemon going in. As you'll see, he's decided to bring Roaring Moon, Goldengo, Torkoal, Galvantula, Azumarill, and the Rhydon. Biggest surprise there was not to see Venusaur. I was very happy not to see Venusaur because it ruined me in my mocks, unfortunately. But the plan doesn't change. I'm going to be leading with my Ogerpon no matter what. I'm very much anticipating that Galvantula leading on his side. So let's get into the battle and see how that goes. So, as you'll see, the lead is going to be that Galvantula that we're up against. I'm just going to click Ivy Cudgel, as was the plan all along. We go for it on the Galvantula, and it is indeed that Focus Sash set. So, if I'd have led with Taunt, then maybe we could have stopped these webs from coming up, but I had a plan and I was going to stick to it. So, webs are up on my side, they're there to stay, but I'm just going to stay in here with Ogerpon. I'm happy to go just for the Trailblaze, get my free +1 speed if he's going to let me have the Galvantula, and we'll go from there. Now, Iron Boffin is going to give me the Galvantula, which is really nice. We're going to take an early 6-5 lead here. Ogerpon Cornerstone, Jimmy the Face getting our first KO of the season, which is great. And now, with my Sturdy still very much intact, we can see what he's going to go into to try and best take on my Ogerpon. Now, the answer to that question is going to be the Goldengo. Now, if he's not Colbur Berry, then this knockoff is probably going to be a 2-hit KO. Honestly, no matter what his spread, the fact he's brought it in, I would imply that it's got a little bit of bulk to it, but I'm just going to go for knockoff anyway, just to see how much damage we can do, and also knock off a potential Scarf, knowing I can take any 1 hit from this guy. So, we go for the knockoff, and unfortunately, he is that Colbur Berry set, which is unfortunate, but we are going to be able to take any 1 hit. As it is, I imagine he thought I was going to try and preserve my, my Sturdy, but as I said, I'm staying in till I die. He goes for Shadow Ball, and we live it quite handily. Now, on the next turn, he is going to be able to take us out with a Make It Rain, but it's looking like it might be a roll for Knockoff to take him out, so my plan was always to stay in until Ogerpon went down. If I can get the KO here, grand. If not, I can come in and revenge with something. So I'm going to click Knockoff once again and see if we can't pick up a second KO early game. So, Knockoff going to come in, and oh, it's so painfully close. It's so painfully close. Unfortunately, we barely miss out on the KO. Make It Rain is going to come in and take out my Ogerpon, but it's done its job. It got the early kill on the Galvantula, and it's taken this guy down very, very low indeed. As long as we're in with something quicker, he's going to have to switch out or sack it, because he won't be able to get a recover off against the likes of Haxorus or Greninja. Now, I thought about this for a long time, but Haxorus is going to be the one I choose to go into. This could be a chance for it to start breaking. If he wants to recover up on one of my slower mons, he's going to want to get out of there, go into something like the Azumarill or maybe the Rhydon. So Earthquake is going to be the play I go for here. He is going to switch out of there. He knows he can recover up later on something like my Orthworm, for example. He's going to go into his Rhydon here. So I'm going to be able to get a nice tasty Earthquake off, and that does no damage. Really no damage at all. At this point, it's looking like it's not even a 3-hit KO. But I am naturally quite bulky. He's looking to be very invested. So I'm just going to go for a Swords Dance here. I don't really lose anything by doing so. It's going to turn whatever I go for, Earthquake in this instance, into a 2-shot. So I'm going to go for Swords Dance, make sure I get up to +2, and that's going to put him under a whole ton of pressure to do damage to me, as he is going to go for his Stealth Rocks once again, knowing that I don't have removal on my side of the field. So I am going to go for that +2 Earthquake, and that is a clean 2-shot from that range. He's going to go for an Earthquake of his own, and as you'll see, this is actually going to score a crit, which is unfortunate, but it's okay. At this point, I'm a +2 Haxorus, and he doesn't have anything that actively wants to switch into this, even if Earthquake isn't stab. And this is the kind of pressure that Haxorus can really apply in these kind of games. As you'll see, he's basically forced to stay in with Rhydon and accept that it's done its job getting rocks up and getting some damage on my guy. But Haxorus is going to claim his first kill of the season, and now he is facing down a +2 Haxorus, and he's got to react from here and do something drastic. Now, Roaring Moon is basically his only play. I will OHKO or get massive damage on anything else. This is the only thing that outpaces my Haxorus. I have to make the switch here. Haxorus, I need to maintain that first impression and that ability to put offensive pressure right back on Iron Boffin. So I'm going to have to make a switch here into ostensibly anything that isn't my Greninja. So, I'm going to call Haxorus back right about now, and I'm going to go into my main defensive mon. That is going to be Eli the Snitch to try and get some information. That's Orthworm. Sticky Web is not going to affect Orthworm unduly. We take a bit of rocks damage. That's fine. He is going to go for U-turn here. That does negligible damage. The way he's playing it, he doesn't have a booster energy on there. It's possible that he is choiced in some way. Obviously, you know the item is a choice band. I didn't know that. I thought it might have been Scarf. The damage to Orthworm is not enough to tell. He is going to switch on out of there, and now is when he's going to get his Sun Up for the first time. In comes the Torkoal. Now, I do outspeed the Torkoal at -1, but realistically, it's not a risk I want to take. I have a decent middle ground switch into Rotom, and that is probably the play I'm going to make here. So, gonna call Eli the Snitch on back, and I am indeed going to make the play into Wheels Malone. Rotom is going to hit the field, levitating above those webs, is going to take the rocks damage. That's unfortunate. Flamethrower going to come in here and do over half of what I've got left, but thankfully I do have that Citrus Berry in the back, which is nice. At this point, it's not looking like he's going to be able to take me out from here. It's a fairly free Thunderbolt for me. The only switch he could realistically make to take that well is going to be the Roaring Moon, and I don't think he wants to do that at this point. So I'm just going to go for the Thunderbolt. It's fairly free, and if he stays in, I'll be able to get some decent damage and gauge whether this thing is physically or specially inclined on the defensive side. Now he's going to stay in. I'm going to go for Thunderbolt, and that is going to do not a huge amount of damage, maybe about 25-30%. He gets paralyzed. It's not going to affect his speed too much. He's the slowest thing going, even with webs up. Yawn is a bit of a problem. I don't pack a Volt Switch on this guy, which is a little bit unfortunate. So my switch is kind of forced here. Honestly, there's not too much I actively want to go into on a Flamethrowering Torkoal. but I am going to have to get out of there, and Grimmsnarl is my next best thing. It is fully specially defensive at the very least. So if you're going to go for Flamethrower again, that's going to be the best thing to take it. So, calling back Rotom and Grimmsnarl, big Tony Valier is going to hit the field for the first time, ready to protect his fellow team members. Sticky Web isn't going to affect my Prankster too much. I don't have massive speed investments on this Grimmsnarl, but Boffin is going to make a switch of his own. He's going to get on out of there, and he is going to make a very nice play into Germain. That is, of course, the Goldengo. Now, high chance is that he is going to outspeed me, and of course I can't Parting Shot out because of that good as gold. So now I'm in a bit of a tricky situation as to who I want to go into on this guy. Fully aware that he could just go for a recover, but I really want to keep Grimmsnarl healthy in case I need it for the Roaring Moon. So, get out of there with Grimmsnarl. We're going to go right on back into our Rotom, who is getting worn down something fierce by those rocks, and unfortunately the recover is going to come in. So the hard work done by Ogerpon Cornerstone earlier on is a little bit negated now, unfortunately for me. But this is going to be a prime time to drop yet another Thunderbolt. Something is going to have to take it along the line. Fairly decent-ish chance that I might be able to live. This is certainly not the time to Terror into Fairy in case he predicts that and goes for that Make It Rain. So I'm going to click Thunderbolt and see what Boffin wants to do about it. And what Boffin wants to do about it is not risk it on his Goldengo, that's for sure. He's going to switch on out of there, and he's going to make the offensive play into the Roaring Moon. Now, paralysis on this guy would be absolutely monumental. So we're going to go for the Thunderbolt. It's going to do not much at all. This thing is very naturally bulky, and he is not going to get paralyzed. That's unfortunate. I'm going to go for the Willow. Now, I do overdo it here. I went in for Willow far too quickly. You may have noticed I forgot to click the Terror button. That's unfortunate. It might have saved me, but as you'll see, he's just going to go for the knockoff. Now, would that have saved me? Who can really say? I'd use my item, I would have been a Fairy to resist, but he is a Choice Banded Roaring Moon, so not the particularly easiest one to call there, but with Rotom down, it does afford me a free switch into either Grimmsnarl or Orthworm, and I'm going to choose to go into Grimmsnarl. He's playing this like it's choiced. I'm thinking he's Choice Scarfed. Either way, it's not going to do anywhere near enough to old Tony here, so I'm free to sit in here and watch him, hopefully, switch on out. Now, he is going to switch out here. I went for Throat Chop, actually predicting the Goldengo to come back in. As it is, he's going to make a very nice move here and go into his Azumarill. Throat Chop is going to do precious little to that. I thought that he might want to go into the Goldengo to circumvent a Parting Shot, knowing he was going to switch. But either way, the Throat Chop has done some damage. I'm going to now be able to go for Parting Shot and just try and work around this Azumarill as best I can. So, Parting Shot is going to come in here. I'm going to get that off onto the Azumarill. Now, realistically speaking, my only play here is to go into my Orthworm. None of the rest of my Mons can afford to take a play rough from this guy. So, unfortunately, it is going to have to be the Orthworm. Now, this might be a bit of a problem if I want to try and get Shed Tails off, but it is my best and only play. So, in comes Eli the Snitch. Sticky Web, doesn't matter. Rocks are going to do a little bit of damage to me. As you'll see, he's going to go for Brick Break, predicting, I guess, the screens, but that does nothing. I know he's at -1, but he is an Azumarill, and I'm not massively invested in defense. Now, this is telling me not only is this not banded, this doesn't look like huge power, which I can tell you now it isn't. He was prepared for my Ogerpon by running Sap Sipper, which was very interesting. But what it means is that I'm going to be able to get a Shed Tail off here, and I can start trying to get some stuff going earlier than anticipated with Greninja. So, he is going to withdraw. Clearly, he's not getting anywhere with this Azu against my Orthworm. He is going to go into his Germain as I go for the Shed Tail. So, we get down, but we do get our Citrus Berry back. Now, we're not going to be able to get another Shed Tail off, but this might allow us to take a hit or two from the Roaring Moon, and I'm going to be able to pass a substitute out to my Greninja. And we don't waste any time. Greninja is going to hit the field for the first time. The heavy duty boots mean we don't take any damage, we don't lower our speed. Now we are behind a sub and can start going for some pretty big hits. And see if he has a response to this left, to be honest. I mean, the last thing he wants is to let me get my Battle Bond going, if I have it, which I do. Now he's going to switch out. I lose nothing by clicking Dark Pulse here, even if he does want to bring that Azumarill straight back in, which is what he opts to do. I'm still behind a sub. I can still try and do some decent damage with Sludge Wave. So Dark Pulse is going to come in here, and it's going to do nothing to the Azumarill. But I'm hoping still, maybe, that Sludge Wave can two-shot him from this range. So without wasting any time, that's what I'm going to go for. So here comes the Sludge Wave. That's going to come in, and as you'll see, that is going to do so little damage. What makes it worse is the move he's going to go for. He's packing Draining Kiss. This is a really, really interesting Azumarill set. What he's done here, ostensibly, is build an Azumarill that can take on both Greninja and Ogerpon Cornerstone, which is mighty impressive for 1-1 to be able to do. He's way out of range of Sludge Wave, so I can't get anything going with Greninja right now. I have to switch out because that Draining Kiss is going to be healing him more damage realistically than I can do with Sludge Wave. It looks like not only is he very physically bulky to take on Ogerpon, he's Assault Vest as well. So I'm going to have to call back Greninja. I haven't been able to get a sweep going this early. We might have to wait until later to try and get that on. So in, once again, is going to come the Orthworm. Now this will take a Draining Kiss very easily indeed, very handily. The Draining Kiss is going to come in, and as you'll see, it's doing basically nothing to me. He does get a crit, which is a little unfortunate, but in the grand scheme of things, it still doesn't do much damage to old Orthworm over here. Right now, I could either go for a Spike, or I can go for an Earthquake to just get damage on this thing. This thing, clearly, I have to get a lot of chip on for Greninja to be able to do things. He knows this. He's going to get on out of there on my Earthquake, and he actually is going to opt to go into his Goldengo. I go for Earthquake, and I'm thinking, please, just take it out, and once again, Goldengo is going to live on a sliver, which is unfortunate. There's not really all that much that I can do to him, but I'm rather predicting that he's going to go for a Recover here. This would seem as good a time as any, so I'm going to make a really offensive play, go into my Greninja, and see if we can't start getting more chip damage on other things. So, Eli going to get out, and once again, we are going to see Greninja hit the field. If he recovers, then I'm going to be able to get some more free damage off somewhere. He's actually going to end up going for the Shadow Ball. That's going to do not a huge amount. I am, of course, resistant to it. And now Greninja is back in. I could try and click Sludge Wave here to try and catch that Azu coming back in, but realistically, I just have to go for Dark Pulse and try and take my kill if he's willing to finally let this Goldengo go. And yeah, he's not willing to let it go. More accurately, he's probably not willing to let me get a Battle Bond off. He knows that I'm not Protean by now. And in comes the offensive switch again, but it is more chip damage from Dark Pulse onto this Roaring Moon, which is nice. We're chipping it away and trying to get it into range of something else. But I am going to need Greninja for the end game. I really have to go into Eli here. I don't have a choice because I'm going to need 3 switches somewhere along the line to get rid of this Roaring Moon. So, gonna get out of there. I didn't want to risk him actually being scarfed by going for Ice Beam. Greninja's too important. So, in is going to come once again Orthworm, who's done a decent job of walling hits here and there, but it looks like it might be over for him, especially if he's going to click Knockoff. U-turn is more likely, and that is indeed what he's going to go for. He's actually, yeah, going to go for that and get out of there. So, Orthworm has really run its race at this point, and he can bring in pretty much anything to revenge me. And that is going to be the Azumarill, which is fine. Orthworm is really not going to be doing anything against this. I am going to go for, I believe, an Earthquake here, just in case I live. But he's going to go for Brick Breaker now that he's not at -1. That is going to take me out from there. That crit didn't matter, not at that point. Like I say, he wasn't at -1. It was always going to happen. So now we have this Azumarill, which is proving to be quite a bit of a problem. The fact is he has Draining Kiss. That's what's causing me a lot of issues because I don't want this thing getting back HP. So what I kind of have to do here is go into my Haxorus. It's going to be the thing that gives him the least HP back with Draining Kiss. If he chooses to stay in, chances are Earthquake's not taking it out. But what I can also try and do is bluff that I have the Poison Jab, which might scare him out just enough to go into something else. So, once again, Lucky O'Brien is going to hit the field here. Obviously, boots are still intact, so nothing bad there. I kind of have to go for Earthquake here. It is still quite free into him. But realistically, I just need as much damage as I can get onto this Azumarill before trying to take it out with Greninja. Now, this is enough, thankfully, to scare out the Azu, which is nice. And what's even nicer is that Boffin is finally going to give me the Goldengo. I'm going to go for Earthquake. Perhaps he was anticipating the Poison Jab to come through, but I don't have it. Either way, Earthquake's going to come in. That problematic Goldengo is finally going to go down. But unfortunately, this is a very easy avenue for that very threatening Roaring Moon to come back in. And as you'll see, that is exactly what our boy Iron Boffin is going to do. Now, I have to maintain Haxorus to take this thing out. I have to go into Grimmsnarl here and kind of hope that he's going to go for Dragon Stab. That is really my only kind of play. At this stage, Ironhead will two-shot me through the Berry if he is indeed scarfed with the rocks that I'm taking. So, going to get out of there with the Haxorus. We're going to go into Big Tony Valier to see if we can take this hit after the webs. Speedfall doesn't matter. Rocks, they're going to come in. He is indeed going to go for that Iron Head. We are going to pop the Berry, and it's about this time that I realise he's choice banded. Because a Scarf, it wouldn't have taken me out, it would have left me at the Snidgen, and I would have gone for Fake Out, and then he'd have gone for it again. But now I only have Greninja and Haxorus, and I have to go into Haxorus. Again, I know he's banded now, but Haxorus really is the only play, and I just have to hope that he has overlooked First Impression. And good news, he did. He overlooked First Impression, and that's going to take out Roaring Moon from there. Big threat, gone from the field of play. That is huge. Haxorus claiming yet another scalp in this game, really putting the team on its back, able to do a lot of work for me. So, what we have is a 2v2 situation. Haxorus and Greninja versus Azumarill and this Torkoal. Now, I'm going to just go for Earthquake here. I will obviously outspeed. That was never in doubt. Chances are this won't take him out, and as you'll see from that damage, it is barely going to miss out on the KO once again, and he is going to go for Yawn. Good play on his part stops me from setting up a Swords Dance, but my play here was just to go for damage, basically kind of until Haxorus went down. But now he's gone for Yawn, and what this actually provides me is an opportunity, my one opportunity in fact, to get Battle Bond with Greninja, which I kind of need to break the Azumarill. So I'm going to pull back out of there, go into Greninja, praying that he has not made the God play and read me and gone for Solar Beam, because I'll take a Flamethrower in the sun, and that is what he's going to go for. This puts me in a really, really favourable position, because what I can do now is just click Sludge Wave. If he switches into the Azumarill, it will two-shot him, and then I'll win the game. Staying in with Torkoal is going to give me the Battle Bond, and that should be enough to break the Azumarill. So, going to click that Sludge Wave button. That is, of course, going to take out the Torkoal from there. Down it goes, and now, finally, right at the death, Greninja is finally going to activate that Battle Bond. That gives me +1 special attack, which could be crucial in being able to break this very bulky, very problematic Azumarill. So, in it comes. Azumarill is Boffin's last Mon standing. It is going to hit the field. It is at about 60-ish%. I'm going to click Sludge Wave. It's my only option. We go for it, and at +1, that is going to take out the Azumarill from there. Greninja cleaning up the game with that Battle Bond, and that is going to be the game. So, we do take a 2-0 win over Iron Boffin. For the first time since coming back to Draft League, we win our first game of the season, which is massive. Great game, Iron Boffin. Make sure you check out his links in the description along with everybody else. Next week, we are going to be taking on Vepsis and the Helsinki Hydreigon, someone I haven't had an opportunity to play until now, so I'm quite excited about it. Should be a good one. We're getting one step closer to sorting out the issues in Draft League City, gang, but that's a story for another time. I'm going to get out there. I've rambled on for far too long. So, my final thank you to you all for watching, and I guess with that, I will see you next time. Laters.